Herkese merhaba. İyi akşamlar diliyorum bütün katılımcılara. İsmim Onur Balaban. Kaplan International Patways ekibini temsilen bugün sizlerle birlikte bulunuyoruz. Kaplan International Patways ile ilgili olarak ve Kaplan International Patways'in partner üniversitelerinden biri olan Arizona State Üniversitesi ile ilgili olarak bugün sizlere bilgi veriyor olacağız. Bugün benimle birlikte aynı zamanda Amerika'dan bir konuğumuz daha olacak. Arizona State Üniversitesi'ni temsilen aynı zamanda Miles Campos da bizimle birlikte olacak. Ben Kaplan'dan kısaca gerekli bilgileri belirttikten sonra size de aynı zamanda Miles'a sözü bırakacağım. Arizona State Üniversitesi ile ilgili olarak bilgi veriyor olacak. Evet, ben kısaca Kaplan'dan bahsetmek istiyorum. Miles, can you also skip the next slide please for me? The next one please. Evet, birazcık Kaplan'dan bilgi vermek istiyorum. Belki birçoğunuz Kaplan ismiyle aşinasınız. Kaplan dünyanın en büyük eğitim organizasyonlarından bir tanesi. Dünya çapında birçok farklı alanda, birçok farklı kurumla birlikte de farklı alanlarda uluslararası eğitim konusunda da hizmet veren kurumlardan bir tanesi. Kaplan International Pathways ekibi ise dünya çapında İngiltere, Amerika ve Avustralya'daki yaklaşık olarak 40'a yakın üniversiteyle birlikte bu üniversitelere öğrenci alım ve öğrencilerin üniversiteleri seçme ve belirlemesi konusunda yardımcı olma fonksiyonu yürütüyor. Bu üniversitelerdeki 1000'den fazla bölüme öğrencilerin geçme imkanını sağlıyoruz. Partner üniversitelerimize bakacak olursak, next slide please. İngiltere'de 16 tane farklı üniversiteyle Kaplan International Pathways'in birlikteliği var. İngiltere'de eğitim için daha sonraki webinarlarda umut ediyorum ki İngiltere'deki üniversite seçenekleri için de buluşuyor olacağız. Ancak içlerinde 7 tane Russell Group Üniversitesi'nin bulunduğu birçok farklı seçenekle, University of Birmingham'dan University of York'a kadar birçok farklı seçenekle öğrencilerin eğitim almasına imkanını sağlıyoruz. Next slide please. Amerika'da ise aralarında Arizona State'in de bulunduğu 4 farklı üniversiteye öğrenci alım işleri konusunda yardımcı oluyoruz. Kaplan International Pathways aracılığıyla öğrenciler Arizona State University, Pace University, Simmons University ve University of Tulsa'da lisans ve yüksek lisans programlarına geçiş için gerekliliklerini tamamlayacak programların haricinde yüksek lisans ve lisans programlarına da doğrudan geçiş imkanı sağlamak için bizim aracılığımızla programlarını seçebiliyorlar. Ben şimdi sözü Miles'a bırakıyor olacağım. Miles bugün bize Arizona State University hakkında bilgiler veriyor olacak. Ben sunum boyunca burada olacağım. Chat ekranından sorularınız olursa paylaşabilirseniz de sunumların sonunda da detaylı olarak yardımcı olacağım. Miles, I'm leaving it to you for the Arizona State part. Thank you for joining us again.
Yep. Thanks everybody for joining the webinar today. Hopefully you're able to get a lot out of this and learn a lot more about ASU. I'm sure it's already been mentioned, but please feel free to use the chat or question function. And so hopefully at the end of the presentation, we'll have some time to be able to do some Q&A as well if I don't answer some of your questions. So I'll start off introducing myself. So my name is Miles. I work here at Arizona State University with our international students. I've been here at the university for quite a while. And before that, I actually was a student at ASU. So I did graduate from ASU. In fact, even my mom graduated from ASU. So I've been here at the university for quite a long time. So to start off with, Arizona State University. So as a state university, we are a public university. And we are a very, very big school. Current student enrollment this semester is 127,000 students. And that includes about 14,000 students. So these 14,000 international students are coming from about 135 different countries. So pretty much every country in the world will have a student here at ASU. Very high quality faculty, very high quality students at the university as well. So we've got Nobel Prize winning professors, Pulitzer Prize winning professors, Guggenheim Fellows, pretty much you name it, we have. So before I get into rankings, there's one thing that I want to talk about to sort of frame everything we do here at ASU. ASU is ranked #1 in innovation by US News and World Report, and that's for 6 years in a row. So that's ahead of Stanford, ahead of MIT, ahead of every other university in the country. And really, this concept of innovation kind of frames everything we do, from the way we run our classes, the way we run housing, the way we help students find jobs. So this is something that we are very, very proud of. I understand that it's very abstract. What does it mean to be #1 in innovation? But if it's something you're interested in, I really encourage you to look into that. We also are the #1 public university for international students. So like I said, that 14,000 international students does make us #1 among public universities. We are the largest university in the United States. Now, I understand there are some places that are really rankings conscious and some places that aren't, but it's still something that's worth going over a little bit, because this is something that students and parents tend to look at quite a bit. So here in the US, ASU is ranked number 46 among public universities, and with an overall ranking of 103. So we're not a top 100 university, but if you look at our major rankings and college rankings, you'll see a lot of very strong rankings. We also have a global ranking of 146. So that global ranking of 146, you can see on the screen. I've compared it to some of the universities you might know in Turkey with their global ranking as well. So you can see that our ranking at 146, that's pretty close to what you would find with something like Boğaziçi in Turkey, or if you compare it to like Middle East Technical, Istanbul Technical, you can see kind of our global ranking sits among some of Turkish universities' global rankings to kind of understand what kind of a school we are and where we are. That might be something that's a little bit more familiar to you. So besides overall ranking, we've got some very high ranking colleges and majors as well. So like I said, ASU is a really, really big school. And with that school comes a lot of major choices as well. So at the undergraduate level, we've got about 350 different majors. And at the graduate level, about 200 different programs. Among those are a lot of STEM majors as well. So that's your science, technology, engineering, mathematics, which of course are great for finding jobs. But once you do graduate, if you plan on using OPT here in the US, we'll obviously give you a longer time for OPT as well. So if you're not a STEM major, you typically only have about 1 year you can stay and work in the US. But if you do come from a STEM major, you actually get 3 years. So it does make a big difference. Another nice thing about having so many different majors is here in the US, it's different than a lot of other countries. And it's pretty normal for students to change their majors. So the average American student will change their major 3 times before they graduate. That's what I did. I also changed my major 3 times before I graduated. And it's something that's very normal. For international students, the reality is about 60% of international students will change their major. So it's actually more likely that the major you leave the university with is a different major than the one you came with, than that it would stay the same. So if you go to a school that might be really good with business, but you decide you want to do engineering, and they don't have engineering or they don't have a very good engineering program, often you would have to change universities. But here at ASU, because we have so many options, and they're all very good, then you wouldn't have to change to a different university, which is something that's really nice. So we have about 350 different majors, but there's kind of 4 main areas that ASU is most well known for. And the first one is business. So business is something we do very, very well. We actually have 2 colleges of business. We have Thunderbird, which is an international management school. And we have WP Carey, which is more like a traditional American business school. That's where you'll find accounting and finance and those kinds of majors. Art and design, we do very well too. So if you want to do something like digital design, architecture, landscape architecture, industrial design, something like that, that would be very good. Public affairs is a very good school here. So if you're interested in majors like public policy, public health, something that's very relevant, I think, in the current time. Nonprofit management, these kinds of majors would be in public affairs. And then engineering is very, very strong at ASU as well, especially for things like computer science, robotics, software engineering. solar power, these kinds of majors are all really good here. So real quick, some famous alumni. Some of them you probably don't know, but maybe a couple of them you do. If you do like to watch basketball, I'm sure you know James Harden. If you like fashion, shoes, bags, I'm sure you know Kate Spade. Also, some of you might be familiar with Michael Phelps, the swimming champion. So he's actually at ASU right now as our assistant swimming coach. So you do see him on campus sometimes. He's really, really tall. You know exactly who he is when you see him. So some of you might be familiar with Arizona, but some of you might not. We are in the Southwest US, close to California. So a lot of people, you know, they hear Arizona is a desert, and they tend to think of like Arabia, like camels and sand and things like that. But that's really not the case. In fact, a lot of the climate in Arizona, I think, is pretty comparable to what you would find in Turkey as well. They're pretty similar climates in a lot of ways. We grow a lot of the same things. We grow dates and oranges and wine and things like that. So very similar climate to a lot of places in Turkey as well. But Arizona, yeah, we're close to California. We're in the western part of the US. So it's very easy for students here to get together with their friends on Friday night. They can drive to LA, drive to San Diego, drive to Las Vegas, have some fun for the weekend, and then come back and be in class on Monday. So very convenient to be able to get around to a lot of places too. So like I said, we are called a desert, but we do have forests. It does snow in the northern part of the state. So here in Phoenix, it can be maybe in the wintertime, it could be 25 degrees outside Celsius. But you can drive 2 hours north and it can be snowing there. So very different climates in different parts of the state. So some information about Phoenix. So Phoenix is a big city. We are the 5th largest city in the US. So we are bigger than Seattle, bigger than Boston, bigger than San Francisco, bigger than Washington, DC. It is a big city. So pretty much everything you would expect from that, we have as well. So we do have fun nightlife, a very good food scene, excellent job opportunities. So really good climate. It's a great place for young people. It's a great place for people just starting their careers, and really low cost of living as well. So our cost of living is actually lower than the national average, while our salaries are actually higher than the national average. So, for example, let's say you want to go to Los Angeles to study. Your rent for 1 month might be $1,600, $1,700 per month. And that's just for a bedroom. You share a bathroom, you share a living room, you share a kitchen. For that same price, you can come to Phoenix and get your own 3-bedroom apartment by yourself. 3 bedrooms, bathroom, kitchen, it's all yours. So if you share an apartment with friends, it's more like $500, $600 per month is very doable for a nice, clean, safe place. So very good cost of living here as well. So like I said, great place for young professionals, great place for people starting their careers. If you're looking to get a job in tech, then it's one of the best places in the entire country that you could be. So some information about our campuses. Here at ASU, we have 5 different campuses. Now, these aren't different. This isn't like a main campus and satellite campuses or anything like that. This is all the exact same university. The diploma is exactly the same. Transcripts are the same. It's pretty normal for students to even take classes at more than one campus. It really just depends on what your major is, which campus you're going to study at. So it's not a case of, you know, it's not like it's not a university system or anything like that. It's all the same university. So like I said, it's pretty normal for students to go back and forth between campuses, maybe take classes at 2 different campuses. It's really their choice if they want to do that. It just depends on how they're choosing classes that semester. So we do provide transportation to the students to go back and forth. We have buses that go to all the campuses. They're free. They're only for our students. They leave every 15 minutes. So very convenient for students to be able to go back and. So we've got the down Phoenix campus, and this is right in the middle of Phoenix. So this is very much that urban campus feel. If you're studying something like global management or law or nursing, or something in our School of Public Affairs, then you would be at the downtown campus. Like I said, it's right in the middle of the city, very urban. The gym has a rooftop pool. It's a 10-minute walk from baseball games and basketball games and concerts and things like that. So if students are looking for kind of that urban feel, then they would really like this campus. We've got the Polytechnic campus. Now, Polytechnic is mostly focused on a lot of engineering programs, especially things like robotics, automotive engineering, alternative energy. These kinds of majors are going to be pretty big at Polytechnic campus. This campus also has its own airport, so a lot of our aircraft and related majors are here. Pilot programs are here. I'm not sure if you've heard of a university that has their own airport before, but we do. And another thing that's really nice about this campus is as you walk around, you'll see there are almost no classrooms here. It's almost entirely labs. So from the very first day, most students are doing most of their work in labs. It's a very hands-on style of education. So we tend to have students graduating from this campus that are very highly qualified. They know all the latest technology and tools. So when they're graduating and applying for jobs, companies are trying to grab them to go work for them as fast as they can. So students here tend to have really good luck finding jobs. We've also got the Tempe campus. Now, typically when people think Arizona State University, they're thinking of the Tempe campus. This is kind of what they think of. And this is very much, I think, how a lot of people would imagine a big state university in the US to be. If you're studying majors like engineering, it's kind of the more traditional engineering like computer science and things like that would be here. Business, design, anything in like the arts or the sciences would typically be here. And if you've never been here, the scale of the university is just very difficult to imagine. We've got 3 or 4 libraries, 10 or 11 dorms. We've got 5 or 6 cafeterias. On the bottom left, you can see our football stadium. So when we do have games here, this stadium can hold about 50,000 students at one time. We've got a national theater here. So this is one of the few places in the country that you can see Broadway shows, the same actors that you would see in New York on Broadway. This is one of the few places in the country where you can see them outside of New York. And we've got the West Campus. Now, the West Campus feels a lot more like a liberal arts college. So the majors here tend to be a little bit more liberal arts focused. We do have some business programs here as well, and a few science programs. But here, the campus, it's a lot quiet. It's very quiet, a little bit slower paced, very, very nice campus. So if students are looking for that kind of slower paced, more intimate, more liberal arts feeling kind of experience, then they would be really interested in the West Campus. Now, our last campus is Lake Havasu. This is a very special campus. It's undergraduate only, and there is no engineering here, but there are some very good programs in business, science, public service, things like that. And this campus is not in Phoenix. It's about 3 hours outside of Phoenix, kind of right in between Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Los Angeles. Now, one thing that's very special about this campus is that the cost of tuition here is only about $10,000 US. So that's about the same price as going to a community college here in the US. And for that price, you can go to Arizona State University and graduate with an Arizona State University degree and get the same quality education you would at any other campus. But you can pay a lot less in tuition to come here. Lake Havasu is a really nice place to live and study as well. Lake Havasu is really well known as a vacation city here in the US. So a lot of people from colder northern states or Canadians tend to have vacation homes here or come on vacation here. So there's a lot of resorts, there's a lot of golf courses. So if you're studying something in like tourism and recreation management, then there's a lot of opportunities for internships and jobs after graduation as well. Now, speaking of jobs, job placement I know is something that you might not be worried about right now, but in a few years, once you're nearing graduation, it is something I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about. And this is something that ASU does very, very well. So last year, 90% of our students found jobs within 90 days of graduation, and that includes international students as well. We're ranked number 5 in the US for producing the best qualified graduates by the Wall Street Journal. So basically what they did is they asked like the 200 largest companies in the US, for your new hires that just graduated from university, what universities are they coming from? So in other words, what universities are producing graduates that get jobs at the 200 largest companies? And ASU is ranked number 5 for where they're coming from. If you're interested in tech, if you're interested in going and working for someone in Silicon Valley, or any kind of tech or computer-related job, then ASU is a great place to study as well. So we're top 10 in the US for producing graduates to go and work in tech, and that's ahead of a lot of other schools that you might be more familiar with. So that's ahead of UCLA, Texas A&M, Purdue. It's ahead of MIT. So if you're interested in tech, then ASU is a great place to come study in order to find a job. So career services, a lot of support there to help you find a job as well. So the university has a career services, colleges will have career services, and a lot of majors will have career services as well. So you'll have 2 or 3 different career services offices to help you prepare for interviews, work on your resume, introduce you to companies and introduce companies to you. Here on campus, we have job fairs almost every day. As you walk around campus, you'll see students walking around dressed really, really nice. And you know, oh, there must be some kind of career fair that they're going to. Now, besides working after you graduate, a lot of students are interested in jobs on campus as well. And this is something that's totally, it's a great idea. Now, international students are allowed to work up to 20 hours on campus. This is the same at every university in the US. This is a national policy. But because we are the largest university in the US, that means that we do have a lot of on-campus jobs available as well. So if you're interested in something like maybe working at Starbucks or working at the bookstore, or maybe working in my office as a student worker, then these are all options that you have for working while you are going to school as well. So some of the top employers that you'll find once you graduate, I'm sure some of the companies you might not know, but some of the companies you do. Amazon is a big one. DHL, FedEx. We send more engineers to Intel than any other university in the entire world. So a lot of our students end up working at companies like Intel. So how do you apply to ASU? What do you need in order to get in? Generally speaking, if you're applying to an undergraduate degree, the main 2 things we look at are your high school grades and your English scores. We do not require SATs for most of our majors. So really just English and high school grades. So most majors, you'll see, require a GPA of about 3.0 out of a 4.0 scale. And then TOEFLs, we require 61 or a 6.0 on the IELTS. Now I know, I'm not sure what the situation is in Turkey right now, but I know a lot of countries it's difficult to arrange TOEFL and IELTS tests. So we are accepting Duolingo right now as well. And that's a test you can take from home. So we are accepting that as well. And most majors at 3.0 is sufficient. If you don't have a 3.0, we will take an SAT score to replace that. But if you already meet that 3.0 requirement, we do not require an SAT score. There are a few majors with higher requirements. There are some majors in the School of Business that require a 3.6 GPA rather than a 3.0. So that's a little bit higher. Again, you can use an SAT to replace that. But if you already have that score, then you don't need to. Engineering also has a higher English requirement. That's a TOEFL of 79 or an IELTS of 6.5. And again, they also accept Duolingo as well. But generally speaking, that's for undergraduate degrees, that's the main two things we're looking at is English and high school grades. We do accept transfers as well. I'm not sure if there are any transfer students here, but we look at the same thing. We look at your grades and we look at your English scores for transfer students as well. We also have a Pathways program. I'm not sure, this might be something you've heard about or something you haven't, but for students applying to undergraduate programs, we do offer a Pathways option. That means that you're able to enter the university with a slightly lower GPA and a slightly lower English score than usually would be accepted. And you do a one-year program that's a mixture of your first-year courses and some support classes as well. After that one-year program, you go directly into second year. So you're still graduating in 4 years, but you're getting some extra support during that first year, which does allow you to enter with a little bit lower grades than usually would be okay. If you end up doing Pathways, we have two different tracks. We have business and we have arts and sciences, and those are two options for you. So like I said, it's a mixture of regular first-year courses. Those are together with the American students, and then some support classes as well, specific for international students. We do have an English program as well. So if you don't meet the English requirements for either coming directly into first year or into the Pathway program, then you can come study English here at ASU as well. So once you arrive on campus, you'll be given a test and placed into one of 6 levels. All you do is go through those levels and then finish Advanced 2, and you can go directly into your program with no TOEFL test, no IELTS test. So if you don't like taking tests, then this is a very good option for you. We do have, obviously, a lot of graduate programs as well. So generally speaking, we're looking for at least a 3.0 GPA from your undergraduate grades and a TOEFL of at least 80 or an IELTS of 6.5. Now, these are basically the lowest requirements that you'll find. These are considered general requirements. There are a lot of majors that actually have higher requirements. So some might have a higher GPA requirement. Some might require a higher English score. Some require a GRE or GMAT, and some don't. So if you're looking at graduate programs, really the best thing to do is to take a look at our website and look at the requirements for your specific program. Because really every single graduate program, every single graduate degree is very, very different, and it will have their own specific requirements. So a lot of students are interested in living on campus as well. We don't require international students to live on campus, but if you want to, we guarantee you a space. So this is a really good option. It's a great way to get integrated into the university. Your roommate's typically going to be your first friend that you meet on campus. So really great way to learn about American culture, make American friends, and really just get integrated into the university. This is what a typical dorm looks like. So usually it's about 2 rooms per room. There are 2 beds per room, and then 1 bathroom for every 4 beds. So you would share a bathroom with 3 other students and live together with 1 other. A lot of student clubs on campus as well, so over 1,500 different clubs. So really whatever you're interested in, you can find a way to get involved and join other students and have fun. There are professional clubs specifically for your major, where really you're working on becoming better at your major. But there are fun clubs as well. So if you like to play football, basketball, if you like to ride horses, go hiking, we even have a chocolate eating club if you want to join that. So tuition here at ASU. So tuition here at ASU is about $32,000 per year for the campuses in Phoenix. But if you remember, I mentioned the Lake Havasu campus, it's about $10,000 per year. Now, plus cost of living, plus health insurance, plus everything together, usually you're looking at an annual cost of about $55,000. Now, of course, this can go higher or lower depending on your lifestyle, where you live, do you want to buy a car or not? But generally speaking, this is pretty much average. And for graduate programs, it's very similar in terms of cost of living. but tuition fees can vary depending on what program you're doing. So generally speaking, overall costs are going to be about $55,000 per year. Now, we do offer scholarships as well. So if you're planning on applying for a scholarship, we look at the same thing we look at as we do for admission. So again, that's your high school grades and your English scores. Unfortunately, we don't look at SATs. We don't look at how well you play the piano or anything like that. All we're looking at is your English scores and your grades. On the low end, we see scholarships of around $2,000, $3,000 per year. And on the high end, we see a lot of students getting scholarships of about $15,000, $16,000 per year. So that's about 50% of your tuition. And we do see a lot of students getting scholarships that are pretty good amounts. So $12,000, $13,000, $15,000, these are very common amounts actually. So I would encourage you to apply and take a look at what the cost is post-scholarship as well. So I know we have a total of about 45 minutes here, so we do have some time left over for questions. Let me take a look and see if there are any in the question box. Oh yeah, there are quite a few questions. So we can go through those as well.
I was trying to helping you a bit. I was trying to be helping replying some of the questions here because there was lots of questions coming from the Turkish students. So I tried to be helping out, but there are few questions that I kind of save it for everyone else so they can kind of hear the questions. Basically, Necati asks about it. How is the coronavirus pandemic situation in Arizona and in the main campuses?
Sure. Okay. So that we can go through that. So I'm sure that's something everybody is concerned about as well as the COVID-19 situation. So we just finished up the fall semester. In fall semester, we have students both studying on campus as well as online as well. So typically the way it works is you'll have all the classes being taught, most of the classes being taught on campus. And so if students want to come into the classroom, they can. But they have to maintain social distancing. They can only come in only about half the students can come in at any time. So if you're not in class, you're attending the same class at the same time with the same students on Zoom. So basically students switch off who's coming on campus and who is attending on Zoom. Now, if you want to do all Zoom classes, that's fine as well. We have a lot of students that are studying from their home country still. I know in a lot of places it's very difficult to get a visa right now as well. So if you want to start online and then join on campus when you are able to get a visa, then that's fine as well. Everything is very, very flexible at this point. In general, we're going to be running spring the same way. So it's going to be a combination of on-campus classes and Zoom classes. So if you, depending on what you're most comfortable with, on what you prefer, you can choose either one, but you do have to maintain social distancing on campus. In general, things are quite under control here. We just finished up the fall semester, and I believe that positivity rates were about 2%, which is considered under control here in the US. So students are able to get free testing on campus as much as they want. This is the kind where you spit in it. It's not the kind that goes in your nose, so it's not too bad. And then, of course, a lot of measures being taken here on campus.
Another specific question that is basically I was saving it for you. Do you have any studio for the kinetic architecture or computer architecture?
For kinetic architecture and computer architecture.
Mm-hmm.
I am not an architect, so I don't even know what kinetic architecture is.
Yes.
To be totally honest.
That's a very specific question, but I think that what we can do is just we can contact with the faculty of computer science, and they can kind of give us a more broad answer. If you drop us an email after the meeting, we will be happy to take it forward to university as well.
Yeah, I can put my email in the chat box, and maybe you can do the same thing, Onur. And if there are any really specific questions like that, please follow up with us, and we can put you in touch with the correct person. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was an architecture question. I guess it's a computer science question, huh? Shows you how much I know. But yeah, so whoever would be the best person to get in touch with, we can push with them.
And another one, I'm just going through the ones that I'm kind of searching through one meanwhile. So there's a new question. Okay. One question from Seth and I. So,
Arkadaşlar Miles ve Onur Bey ufak teknik sorun yaşıyor. Birazdan aramızda olacaklar tekrar.
tekrardan geldim. Küçük bir bağlantı kopması oldu. Kusura bakmayın herkese tekrardan. So I was continuing with questions if anybody is hearing me. So there's a question from Setanay. She's asking, how hard is it getting to the ASU? Is it possible to get into the ASU with a 2.7 GPA? I'm assuming this is a graduate application question.
Yeah, I think it depends on which major you're applying for. If it's a very competitive major, then a 2.7 is typically something that students would be using our pathway program to get into, or they would be using that option to take an SAT test and have their SAT score replace their GPA. Now, we do see students with GPAs like a 2.7 and a 2.8 get directly admitted, but these are typically not the highly competitive majors. So again, I think it just depends on what you'd like to study. But I would say with a 2.7, my suggestion would be either the pathway program or taking an SAT test or an ACT test. I think would be the best options.
Another question, which is a kind of a bit general question from Eda. Do we have work permit while we are studying, and also after we graduate, do we have a work permit as well?
Okay, so these are two different questions. First is while you're studying. So anybody here as an international student will be in the US on an F1 visa. An F1 visa allows you to work up to 20 hours per week while you're studying, but you can only work on campus. You can't work off campus. And like I said, this is the same at every university in the US. This is not ASU, this is nationally. So yes, you can work while you're studying, but only on campus. After you graduate, you'll have an option for a program called OPT, that's Optional Practical Training. What that allows you to do is stay in the US after you graduate and work on your student visa. You don't need a work visa to stay. Typically, you have 1 year of time to stay here in the US and work after you graduate. After that, you would need either a work visa or you move on to a different country. But we do have, for STEM majors, so for students studying the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, it's not 1 year, it's 3 years that you can stay in the US and work before you would need a work visa. So yeah, there are work options while you're studying, and there are work options after graduation as well. But these are two different programs.
Thanks, Miles. There is another question. Maybe it will be good to repeat the answer as well. How is the career opportunities for international students after graduation?
I mean, I think it's the same as it is for domestic students. Like I said in my presentation, 90% of our students found jobs within 90 days of graduation. That's really high statistics. And of course, the remaining 10%, a lot of them might not even be looking for jobs. They might be applying for graduate studies or something like that. So really good. And especially if you're studying something in the STEM majors, like I mentioned, if you're studying something in computer science or engineering or tech, then job opportunities are pretty incredible. What might not be something that is very obvious from Turkey is typically when people think of jobs in tech, they think of Silicon Valley, they think of San Francisco, they think of Seattle. But the reality is here in the U.S. Is a lot of companies and a lot of employees are leaving those areas, and they're leaving California, they're leaving Washington, and they're really going to, I think, probably 3 main places. They're going to Texas, they're going to Utah, and they're coming to Arizona. And so if you're looking for a tech job, chances are you're going to end up in one of those places rather than in California. So that's something to think about as well. The job opportunities are really, really good. But of course, it is something you have to go out and find. Like I said, there are career services that are going to help you with your resume. They're going to help you find jobs. If you take advantage of all the resources you have, you will find a job.
Perfect. Thank you, Miles. There's another question from Laila about application fees and the tuition fees. For any applications that's made through the Kaplan International Pathways to Arizona State, we are waiving any application fees. Regarding the tuition fees are different from the campus to campus, especially on the undergraduate level. The downtown Phoenix 4 campuses are having a different tuition fees, and as well as Lake Havasu campus is having a different tuition fee. So I should encourage the students to be choosing the campus first and make the application, because it will be impossible to make same degree 2 different campuses as well. But the students are able to change campuses after completing a semester or year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Miles, meanwhile. But that would be much more easy for students to do if they wanted to experience the different campuses as well.
Yeah, so she's asking if she should apply for each campus separately, and the answer is no. It's all one university. So you submit an application to ASU, and you submit an application for your major. Now, most majors would only be at one campus or the other. So if you're applying for landscape architecture, that's only at the Tempe campus, so you only have one campus option. There are some majors that exist at more than one campus. So in that case, you just choose which campus you want to apply for. And as Honor said, there's no problem with changing from one campus to another. There's no problem with taking classes at more than one campus. So it could be you come in and you want to study, again, landscape architecture. So you're at the Tempe campus. You do it for 1 semester. And you think, oh, I do not like landscape architecture. I do not want to study this for 4 years. I do not want this to be my job. You decide to change your major to solar energy. So at that point, you would change your major, which again takes like 5 minutes. It's very easy. But now your major is at a different campus. So you would be switching campuses as well. It's pretty normal for students to go back and forth between the campuses. And it's something that's totally okay. You don't have to reapply or anything like that.
Thank you, Miles. So another question I'm going through, do you have a law, PhD, and LLM program in the university?
Yeah. And yes. the LLM program is pretty popular with students from Turkey as well.
Yeah. And there is a very specific questions about one of our attendees, I'm studying bioengineering and I'm aware of the Dr. Kaplan and the Kaplan Laboratory. Are there any scholarships to apply for graduate programs and study in Kaplan Lab? We don't represent Kaplan Lab, first of all, if the question is related with that, but if it's something specific with the university, I'm leaving it to you, Miles, because we don't have any ties with the Kaplan Lab as well.
Yeah. We don't represent Kaplan Lab. Yes. That's something you want to reach out to them directly to ask about.
Yeah. How can we check if our bachelor degrees from Iran and Afghanistan are accepted in the Arizona State University? My suggestion, Laila, to you, you can contact with me or Miles, and you can send out your transcripts and diplomas, so we can send it to our admission team, and they can easily check you are eligible or not to study in Arizona State University.
Yeah, we can check that. So again, this is country by country, but it sounds like you are planning on applying for a graduate program because you already have a bachelor's degree. Generally speaking, if it's a school that's approved by that country's Ministry of Education or Department of Education, then it should be okay. Where it starts to get a little bit complicated is when there are certain countries when undergraduate study is 3 years and not 4 years. There are some countries where 3 years is okay. There are some countries where we need 4 years. So again, as Anar suggested, please reach out to us and we can check your particular situation.
Thank you. What is the GPA requirement for industry engineering undergraduate program scholarship? It is more like I think that they are asking for an undergraduate GPA requirement for transfer students. It's usually 3.0 for most of the degrees in ASU's engineering faculty. So you need to achieve at least a minimum 3.0 GPA as well.
Correct.
And there are scholarships available, by the way. Let me also combine with the half of the question. So there are also scholarships available for transfer students as well. It is based on merit again, so the amount will be varied based on your academic qualifications as well. There
Exactly.
is questions that I was kind of keeping from Necati regarding the COVID for the last, but he re-mentioned the questions. If a foreign student gets infected with COVID-19 at your campus, what is the liability and responsibility of your university? I'm sure that this is a big issue in the US and the universities because the coronavirus pandemic situation is very high in the US.
Sure, that's a good question. So when you're here studying in the US, you are required to have health insurance. And 99% of the time, this is provided through the university. This does cover care if you get infected with COVID. Also, if you just hurt your ankle or something like that. So you do have health insurance. A lot of fees are waived now with COVID-19. So things like getting prescriptions delivered and testing and things like that are all free. We do have testing available on campus. We do have healthcare on campus. So if you end up needing any care on campus, that's fine. Now, if a student gets infected with COVID-19, obviously they're going to be moved away from the rest of the students. So you would be put in your own room by yourself away from everybody else until you can get better. You'll be provided with a helper on campus. So they're going to help you work with your professors to get excused from any classes. If you end up not being able to do any homework or take any tests for a couple weeks, then they will be helping you arrange that. Really anything you need to take care of, there would be someone there to help you with that. Meals would be provided to you in your room. If you need anything else, if you need any supplies, if you need water, anything like that, anything you need, there's a specific person there to help you with that and get you anything you need. And of course, this is just something the university does. It's not something you're paying for. So generally, you get infected with COVID-19, you're quarantined, and then you get a lot of extra help, anything you would need until you're better.
Thanks, Miles. There's another question from regarding to the GPA requirements to get a scholarships in the undergraduate psychology degree. So as a general answer, ASU has a matrix system for scholarship offerings based on students' GPA and the language level. So the minimum eligible criteria is just like you need to have a 3.01 GPA and minimum you have to have a TOEFL 82 IBT or equivalent. I hope this makes sense, but starting from this point, the scholarship amounts and the matrices are changing. So we need to see your transcripts and evaluate your language level to make sure that your scholarship level. Hope it helps.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think it just depends. You can have, it depends on your English scores and your GPA. So
I think that's it. We answered most of the questions. I'm just checking. I think we answered majority of the questions, and I'm coming back to the screen as well. Türkçe'ye geri dönmek gerekirse tekrardan çok teşekkür ederiz bugün bizimle beraber olduğunuz için. Yaklaşık 50 dakika kadar bir süre sizinle birlikteydik. Birazcık zamanımızı da açtık. Tekrardan hatırlatmak gerekirse e-mail adreslerimizi chat ekranında bulabilirsiniz. Arizona State ile ilgili olarak bize ulaşmak istediğiniz takdirde de yardımcı olmaktan memnuniyet duyuyoruz size de üniversitenin programları ile ilgili olarak. Aynı şekilde tekrardan burada Miles'a da teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Thank you very much, Miles, for this amazing presentation and long Q&A session for the Turkish students. And I'm hoping that it will be clear some question marks from the students' minds, and it will be very fruitful for everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody has any questions, please reach out to me, to Hunter, or any of your counselors as well.
Okay.
Miles, Onur Bey, thank you very much for joining us. It was very informative, and you also covered most of the questions in the backstage while Miles presenting. Thank you very much for all information you provided for the students. It was very helpful.
Thank you. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.